We are now joined by Geeshan Willink from Nefta. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing really great, thanks. Really enjoying the show so far, and great to be here back in London. It's been 3.5 years since I've been in London,
Really?
and it's good to be back.
I understand you did a talk earlier on in the show. How did that go?
That's right, I did a talk yesterday, monetizing first-party data in advertising. It was really good audience, had a good time of the day. People were taking pictures. It was very engaged. Really
Outstanding. That's what we like to hear. Well, if people haven't encountered Nefta before, give them just a rundown of what it is you folks do.
Yeah, maybe I can start with how many problems game developers are facing nowadays, which is why Nefta came to be, because we want to make it easier for game developers in such a hard environment. You've got so many barriers nowadays facing game developers. Of course, all of the privacy changes, China regulation, hyper-competitive environment, the funding situation. So yeah, it's just so many issues facing game developers. And a big component of that is the privacy changes from Apple. And so what we are doing is we are trying to bring back the 18 to 50% reduction in iOS revenue from ATT opt-outs. And the way we do this is through leveraging first-party data. We created a standardization in tracking how users interact with game, but in a privacy-compliant manner, so no PII, no IP address, no linking data, no universal identifiers. Models are built specifically for publishers, so everything in order to be future-proofing our privacy, being compliant from a privacy perspective. And so basically leveraging that first-party data to improve ad revenue for iOS opt-outs. That's an overview.
It's incredibly tricky these days because, as you say, you mentioned the China issue and what's happened with their, limiting daily rewards and that sort of stuff just recently. But we've had 4 years of people really clamping down on what data can be collected and taken. So how do you get a stronger result out of fewer signals? How do you still get what you need from this reduced market? You talked about first party. Go a little further.
It's a great question. And of course, the industry has been leveraging all of this private information about individuals. And why wouldn't you when you can make so much more money using that data? What we are doing is collecting a lot of data about how users play games. And this is progression, what do they receive, what do they get, and the idea is to collect so much data to help the machine learning algorithms differentiate the value of the user. Do they complete lots of levels? Are they repeat spenders? Are they focused on inventory? Allowing the machine learning models to differentiate that value and correlate that value with bidding price. So for advertising, the bids represent the value of the user that sees it, but only based on the in-game behavior and nothing related to their identity.
So it's kind of anonymous, but there's still information in there that is of use to the machine learning.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a tough couple of years, full stop. We've seen a lot of people within the games industry anyway being laid off and struggling in difficult times, and VC spend is down, so fewer games are getting made to begin with. Are you seeing a reflection of this in the people that you work with? Are you getting different kinds of requests or being asked for different kinds of help now?
So, I'm going to speak a little bit about the ad industry. That's where we are well focused, because I think a lot of that impact has come from the privacy changes, which means revenue reduction, which means reduced UA. It's harder to acquire quality and quantity of players. And from an ad network perspective, there's a lot to disrupt in the upcoming year, which can really benefit game developers. A lot of game developers are talking about how they have no transparency into ad networks. Am I really earning the most from the ad network partner that I have? And so we are opening up the mediation inside apps to enable app developers to stack up ad networks directly in app, which gives them transparency into which ad network is earning them what for this segment of users, as well as ensuring you get the most value for that ad impression, and you're not relying on an ad network to prioritize their own private deals in the background where they earn 50% margin. So these are ways which we are helping game developers now with the iOS opt-outs, but now going forward with mediation to bring back that lost revenue and transparency into the ad network side. So I kind of veered off your question a little bit, but I wanted to highlight the fact that there are so many problems, and we are solving revenue from ads being a key problem there.
Sure. And it can be tricky as well, because a lot of people see the way that ML works for ad networks as a bit of a black box. It is quite opaque, and it's tricky to, you just have to trust the information that comes out the end.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people will often ask for more data, but at what point do you think it's like dumping a whole bunch of metrics on the user and saying this is all this information is itself not necessarily very useful unless you know how to interpret it and what to do with it.
Yeah.
So is it a case of like less information but more useful information rather than just like throwing a ton of metrics at people?
Yeah, and it's an interesting point. This is where iteration comes with what we call dynamic models. And we have a system in place where we train models on a daily basis. You can pick and choose which features go into models, and you can then evaluate which features have the highest importance when predicting the click-through rate. And so through iterating in this process, you select the best features from all of the in-game behavior to produce the best models. And this is an iterative process that data scientists and machine learning experts, they do. That's their job.
So a lot of the talk was surrounding AI last year, and we talked to a lot of companies like yourselves who've been dealing with ML for a long time. And there was never that kind of public awareness, I think, of AI as there is now. People are familiar with generative because that's what everyone's been playing with, but they're sort of suddenly realizing that ML is also AI, and they go, no, are you one of the bad AI people or one of the good ones? Do you feel that the changes and the bringing to light of this kind of this tool creates problems, or has it been useful? And is there anything from the new developments that you feel would be useful for what you do?
I think, firstly, if you're a machine learning engineer, you're in the right industry, because AI is not going away anytime soon. I think, yes, generative AI has taken the spotlight to all consumers with ChatGPT. We and I have been doing machine learning, data pipelines, big data, and so on for many years now, and that's just getting better and better. I think with more attention comes more money being pushed into the space. So I'm excited to see the evolution of how smart these algorithms can get as a tool for leveraging performance in our industry. We can earn more money for game developers by improving our algorithms continuously. And that's the real end benefit to game developers for our use case.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
So I do. And you've come to the show today, and say you did the talk earlier on as well. From your perspective, what's the value of coming to like in-person events like this? What do you do? Are you checking out the competition? Are you making new contacts?
Yeah. So we've spent the last year building this ad network. Ad networks are tremendously difficult to build. There's so many moving parts. And we're now at that launch phase where we've acquired some really good early adopters, and now we're scaling that traction, beyond. And so for us, it's about getting the name out there, meeting old friends from the industry, talking to new partners, just getting it out there, because it takes a lot of time to build that trust that game developers have to rely on us. So we're also going to quite a few events this year. It's going to be a real busy year for us.
Excellent. Well, we hope to see you at some of them in future. Best of luck with the launch.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for talking to me.
Ciao.